Hi, I'm excited to be here today to share with you my new Nicholas Lodge collection by Katy Designs. In this presentation, I will be showing you how to use the Winter Spice mold. This is the Winter Spice mold as part of the Nicholas Lodge collection by Katy Designs. So this mold, like all of the other parts of the winter collection, has multiple cavities. So first of all, there is a cinnamon stick, and I'm going to be showing you how to do both a double cinnamon stick straight out of the mold and a single cinnamon stick. And then we move on to the citrus slice. So this can be made into oranges, lemons, limes, blood oranges, pink grapefruit. So any citrus slice can be made using this beautiful mold. And then third mold on here is the star anise. This is an Asian spice, has a very sort of interesting star shape and is used a lot in sort of like Christmas decorating in European countries and things because of its nice fragrance. And it works beautiful with especially with oranges and with the cinnamon. So this is the winter spice. Now when using the winter spice mold, just like with the other molds, generally I would modify some rolled fondant or sugar paste. If you watch the pine cone tutorial, I actually physically show this in the presentation, but this is 115 grams of rolled fondant or sugar paste, and to this I've added 1/4 teaspoon of Tylose powder and 1/4 teaspoon of vegetable shortening or white fat. Mix it together, leave it about 10 minutes. Now for creating the cinnamon stick, this is very similar to the way I did the walnut on the nuts and berries video, in that I'm going to just take a little bit of chocolate brown sugar paste or rolled fondant, and I would add some of that to the white to make just a pale chocolate. You could alternatively do that by taking off some white and adding some brown gel or paste color as well. Now when we are creating the cinnamon stick, we're going to start off with the mold. And I'm going to first of all show you how to do a double cinnamon stick. So for the double cinnamon stick, we're going to be using a number 14 small or 20 grams on a digital scale. So in each of the videos, I've showed both methods using a digital scale. And so here I have 20 grams of paste, and here we have 20 grams. Or if you were using the size guide method, the size guide method will mean a number 14 small. So this just goes just through the number 14 hole. Okay, so it's a small number 14. We're going to take your paste. We're just going to condition this a little bit, and just to make it malleable and pliable, using a little cornstarch with my cornstarch pouch. I'm going to just roll this into a log. It's obviously a fairly large amount of paste for a mold, so just want to make it into basically about the sort of the length of the mold. You can see it's about the length of the mold. And then I would then just dust a little cornstarch, corn flour on the top of this, all right? In the smaller projects, I generally roll this on the ball. Alternatively, you could use also the traditional Katy method, which is to brush some corn flour or cornstarch in the mold and then just tap that out. So I'm going to put that down into the mold, so this will sit into the cavity. And again, using my cosmetic sponge, I'm going to press this in to the mold. You're just going to press this in with just making sure you get into there. This will give you there. And you can also use your Dresden tool just to make sure that the Dresden tool is the wider end of this tool. This is called the Dresden veining tool. The veining tool is the thin end, and I will be showing that on some of the other tutorials, like for example on the holly. And then the Dresden tool is the wider end of this tool. There are several manufacturers that produce this tool in different colors, but it's basically the same concept. But so just going to press this in, so you see how you actually have made this sort of level with the mold. And then we're just going to release this from the mold. This will just come out very, very easily. And you see how you have this beautiful cinnamon stick with all of its texture on, ready to be colored. Now, when you are doing a single cinnamon stick, you know, you could think, oh, well, it'd be very easy, you just cut it in half, which you could do. But when you cut it in half, you're going to get this very much this severe cut edge. So when actually I do a single cinnamon stick, I actually prefer to do it just with using half of the mold. So I found what works very well, I'm just using a plastic scraper. So this is just a scraper, something, even a piece of cardboard, just approximately the width of that. So you want something about the width of the mold. And see, what I'm actually going to do is just going to push the paste into one half. The piece of cardboard or plastic will stop the paste pushing over into the other side of the mold. Now when making the single cinnamon stick, I'm going to be using a number This is going to be a number 12 small or 10 grams. So will be number 12 small on the size guide or 10 grams. So it's half the amount of on the scaled weight. 20 grams for the double, 10 grams for the single. Again, I'm just going to roll this into a sausage here. Going to put just a little corn flour, cornstarch onto that. Going to put this into the mold here. So I'm just going to place this into the mold, and you can see here that I'm going to place my sausage in, and I'm just going to press this in with my cosmetic sponge so it comes up to the edge of the cardboard or the plastic. So a piece of plastic or a set of cardboard could be used. Again, just using my Dresden tool, just going to go in there just to make sure that we come into the ends. So you see what this has done, this has formed it into half of the mold. So I then take out my piece of plastic, and then I'm actually going to, while it's in the mold, I'm going to just go in with my cosmetic sponge. You see I'm just pressing into here like this. So what I'm actually doing is I'm getting rid of that sort of square edge and making it a little bit rounded. So you're actually forming like a single stick. So you see how it actually has that sort of round edge to it, okay? So you're just going to come in there with your cosmetic sponge, just going to press this in. You can just push the paste in with your Dresden tool at the bottom here. So you see how I'm just going in with my Dresden tool here at the bottom just to push this in. But you see how it has this sort of rounded shape, all right? It doesn't have that sort of square edge. So then when we flex this out of the mold, and this comes out of the mold here, this will give you the cinnamon stick, you see, with its nice natural look to it. Right, but this is going to look much better than just literally cutting the cinnamon stick in half. You can see the difference is immense on the look of the two cinnamon sticks. This looks much more natural. So that's how we do a single cinnamon stick. Now these you need to dry. Again, you can just dry these at room temperature for a few hours. Again, if you do have a food dehydrator, that's something I use a lot for things like this. It's a great sort of aid for making decorations like this, because you can just pop this in the food dehydrator. That helps to take the moisture out. But as I said, if you don't have a food dehydrator, just leave these probably 2 or 3 hours to dry. Then you can go ahead and dust them and finish them off, and then you can let them dry totally before you put these onto a cake. We can also cut the cinnamon sticks in half as well. So you can also cut the cinnamon stick if you want to use smaller pieces. And then you can also, of course, using this, you can actually make like a triple cinnamon stick, which looks really nice. Like a lot of times you'll see cinnamon sticks with a piece of twine. So you could take a piece of flour modeling paste or gum paste and make like a little string there. But I'm just going to let those dry, and then I'm going to show you how we color these. For coloring the cinnamon stick, I'm going to take some chocolate brown. So this is a color I used on, for example, on the pine cone. I've used this color on the walnut. So actually in each of the some of the videos I've used this. So taking some chocolate brown dust, I'm going to use a large brush. So first of all, I just want to sort of brush on the edge here. Now you see how when I'm using this, I'm using a flat brush. So when I brush over this, I'm going to sort of just brush over the top. So you see what it will do, it will accentuate the design of the cinnamon stick. So we're leaving that sort of inside part, the sort of the natural color. And then you're just going to just rub this over the top, and you'll see how you get all this beautiful, this will bring out the textural detail. The molds are incredible, the detail on them. And you see how you're going to then just brush this over the top of it. You don't need to worry about the bottom of this unless this was going to be visible, but just sort of brush around the edge. Of course, you can also wear gloves when doing this as well. Once you've done the brown there, I'm going to then take a little bit of, this is some brown gel color, and I've added just a little bit of vodka to this and to make it evaporate. So I'm going to just take some brown gel or paste color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go in to accentuate the sort of the central vein. So I just want to give a little bit of shading. This alternatively could be done with a darker brown or a black dust as well. But I'm just going to go into the center part here. So see, this is going to just give you that sort of almost divide, like shading. And then I'm going to, again, just on the ends of the cinnamon stick here, just going to use that brown. And I'm just going to just add a little bit of detail here on the brown as well. All right, so you can see here on the brown, just going to bring this up here on the edge. So on top of where the brown is here, we're just going to sort of just give you that sort of darker effect on the edge there. And you can just almost like the edge of the cinnamon. You can just use a little bit of brown just sort of here and there. So just going to get this slightly darker look onto there. And then usually when I finish this off, just like with some of the other elements, like on the nuts and berries, there are two main options. One is to use a spray lacquer, so an edible spray lacquer, just lightly spray this on a protected surface. And then second option is to take a little bit of vegetable shortening or some white fat and just put that on the back of your hand. And this is just going to give you that sort of natural look to the cinnamon. As I explained on some of the other video tutorials, when you're especially going to use this on something you're going to eat, this really has no flavor. But you want to use a vegetable fat, or as I said, a vegetable shortening. So what we do here is just going to just rub over the surface of the cinnamon, and what that's going to do is just going to give it that natural. See how I'm just work a little bit of the vegetable shortening on the back of my hand, and that's going to be warm. So you just take a brush and just keep a brush for that purpose. You don't want to use this brush then for dusting flowers and things. Just going to come into the ends of the cinnamon stick, the ends like that, and that's going to give you this nice natural look to the cinnamon. Once you have got that completed, you're then going to take the cinnamon, and of course you would then could let this dry totally, or you could obviously just let these dry overnight and use those. And then this will give you the, the cinnamon, so you can use your cinnamon pieces like this. So it's a really fun mold, and as I said, can be used in lots of different ways on wreaths, on bûche de Noël. It looks really nice on the Yule log. So there, as I said, an amazing product to use, and really fun. And in also some of the other videos, I'll be showing how to do chocolate in these as well, because as I explained in the pine cone tutorial, you can use these for melted chocolate. You can also put modeling chocolate into here as well, which obviously if you're going to be using them on things you're going to consume, it's going to taste nicer than sugar paste or rolled fondant. So here is the cinnamon stick. So in creating the citrus slice, so this represents a slice of citrus, which traditionally during Christmas time in a lot of European countries like Germany and various other European countries, they use a lot of dried orange slices because they're very fragrant, along with things like cinnamon and star anise. It's a sort of very beautiful fragrance. So, but this could also be used to represent a fresh lemon slice, a fresh lime slice. During the summer, you can use this on cocktail-themed parties. You can use it on cupcakes, and to emulate the flavor, pink grapefruit, gin and tonic with a lime slice on the top. So it's a really, really fun mold to use, not just during Christmas time or the winter season, but also the rest of the year as well. So when we use the citrus slice, I'm going to use some of my modified fondant or sugar paste. I've colored this a sort of a pale cream color. Now you could also just take an ivory or cream sugar paste or rolled fondant and actually modify 115 grams of cream or ivory paste if you're making a lot of these. Alternatively, as I have done, I just added a little bit of cream color to my white paste. Anyway, so I have here, this is again on your size guide or on your scale. We have 5 grams, so the same size as the small. This is the 5 grams of paste, and this would be on the size guide here. This would be a number 11 small, so this would go through the number 11 hole, and that would be 5 grams of paste. All right, again, I'm just going to condition this just a little bit, so I'm just going to add just a little bit of vegetable shortening into this, vegetable fat, just to, as I said, give this life. Remember, this is a technique what I call conditioning. It's very important, especially when we make things like sugar flowers, to really give life to the paste, because if you don't do that, it's going to sometimes be a little, what I refer to as dead. So just going to just now smooth this. So remember, you can either use the corn flour, cornstarch brushed in the mold, or you can just take your little ball of paste and just roll that onto the little cornstarch bag. I'm going to place this into the mold, just going to press it in just gently with my finger. And taking my cosmetic sponge, I'm going to push this, because as you can see here on the mold, around the edge of the mold, you have this thicker recess around the edge here. All right, so this is important too when we're using this to make sure the paste goes into there, because the slice is thinner on the top. So you're pushing your paste to the edge and then just making sure that you push this into here. You see, so you're actually just using your sponge, So we're just going to simply just go around here like this, and this will just press this in level. Now I'm starting off with a cream color because that is the natural color of the pith of all of the citrus family. Okay, so whether you're doing a lime or an orange or a lemon or a grapefruit, you always want to start off with this cream color. If we started off with white, it would be too stark, but you could do that and then you could just dust it a creamy color, but it's much more sort of productive to start off with the natural base color you need. And then all we need to do is we're just going to simply take that, and you see how this is just going to simply remove from the mold here, and you have your amazing citrus slice here. Now, when I did on some of the presentations you'll see later on, I did actually a garland where I actually sort of took orange slices and I thread a twine through here like a thread to hang on a Christmas tree. So you could use these for gift packages, things like that. Here what I've done is I've actually took a number 7 piping tube or a small round cutter and just cut 2 little holes while it was soft. And then I actually was able to thread some twine through the orange slice to make a garland. But here you're just going to have your orange slice. So this now needs to, again, dry. Now you can paint these ones straight away, all right, but or generally I would recommend just leaving them maybe 1 or 2 hours to dry a little bit, and then you can paint them and then finish them off. For creating the citrus slice, I'm going to use a painting technique. So I'm using here some Pro Gels. These are very concentrated, so they're nice and easy to use. So for the orange, which is the one I'm going to actually show you and then reference the others, I've used a little bit of orange and a little bit of yellow on my little dish here. And so this is what I would use for the oranges. I'm going to take some vodka, and we use a alcohol here to paint with. You can use water, but it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. So generally I would use some type of extract or something that is alcohol based. So you're going to take a little bit of the yellow and a little bit of the orange. So what I want to do here is I want to achieve a sort of almost like a sort of a tangerine color. This is the color I'm going to use as my sort of base. So this is a yellow and orange mix. When you first start putting this on, you'll see whether you need to up the orange or here. So here you can see the slice. So this is the one that I have just made, you know, so this is obviously soft. This one has dried for a couple of hours. You see it's still, as I said, it's still got a little bit of movement, but it makes it much easier to paint. So I'm just going to use a brush, and then all I'm going to do here is just going to put my, so I just need to up my orange just a little bit. And so when you first start painting this, you'll sort of see. But you see, because of the beautiful detail in this mold, when you put this in, you're going to get like almost a two-tone effect, because when you paint this, you see how you're going to get the darker areas will fill into there like so. So you're going to fill this in with the yellow orange. So you're just going to fill in between the pith part of this, all right? And then once you filled that in, then you will take, so then I'm going to pretty much use just a little bit of the, so I'm going to take now a little bit of the orange here, just pretty much just straight orange. And then I'm going to just hold this. This is really where it's better if it's dried a little bit, because you can actually hold it like this. It makes it a little bit easier to rotate. You see, then what I'm actually going to do is just using my brush, you just would rotate this around the edge, and this represents the peel of the orange, okay? So this is yellow and orange in the center, and then I have just straight, pretty much straight orange around the edge, okay? So that would be sort of how you would do your orange slice. Now, when you've have painted these, then I usually just let them dry, all right? So just let them dry just a little bit so they dry. And then I'm going to bring in some color. Now, these are, again, 2 colors that I've used in some of the other videos. So on the, for example, nuts and berries, for the walnut and for the almond, these are the 2 colors I used for that, but this works perfect. So this is an autumn gold color, all right? So it's like a yellowy brown. And so what we're going to do here is going to take just a little bit of that, not too much. And this is just going to help to just sort of get rid of that, almost that harsh ivory, creamy color. It's just going to, so you're just going to use this brush just very, very lightly. And I'm just going to brush around the edge of this just to as I said, so you just brush from the outside to the inside. So what this is going to do is just going to make it's not going to make the cream color quite as stark, okay? You just do that around the edges, because naturally the pith of the orange or the citrus has a little bit of a, you know, the dark color from the edge of the rind, and then you have just a slightly darker color. So you're just going to brush around with that. And then I'm going to take a little bit of chocolate. So this is the chocolate brown. So I'm going to take just a little bit of chocolate brown here. and I'm just going to dust that right into the center. So just a little bit of chocolate brown, just right into the center there, and that just is very with a small brush. You're just going to get a very light look there. And that's sort of how you would do the coloring on the orange. Now, once you've got that finished, you can take your orange slice. Again, you can leave these because if you're representing dried oranges, they don't have a lot of natural luster because they're naturally dried, so they're not really shiny. But you could also, if you're going to use this, for example, on a, say, a pool-themed birthday cake or for a cocktail theme, just like I've just shown on the cinnamon, you could either use the spray lacquer or you could just lightly brush over that with a little bit of vegetable shortening or white vegetable fat, okay, if you wanted to make it shiny. But these actually have just been left the natural look. Now, as far as alternative coloring, so this is our orange slice, okay. So obviously oranges are really fun to do, and of course there are many varieties of oranges. You know, you've got Seville and Valencia and all different types of oranges. I'm going to talk about blood oranges in a moment. So of course you could do those with slightly different color variations. Then we move on to the lemon. Now when I do the lemons, I'm just using yellow gel, just straight yellow gel. So again, a lighter version in here, and then of course a slightly darker on the rind of the lemon. And that is how I did the lemon slice. When I did the limes I actually used a mixture of green and yellow, or you can also get like a lime green gel, so you could also use a lime green gel, but I just mixed some green and yellow together to make a lime green color, and again just a fairly weak variety of weak color on the, and then a slightly darker color on the edge of the rind. Pink grapefruit. All right, so pink grapefruit, I've used pink and orange. So I've used the pink and orange to make almost like a peachy coral color. And then I use just a darker variety of the pink and orange mix for the pink grapefruit slice. And then here you can see blood orange. So the blood orange, that is actually orange and red. So for the blood orange, I've used orange and red to give this darker color. And this one actually, we've gone in with some gold powder, or you could use some gold food paint, an edible food paint, and you could just brush over that. So you could gild these. Of course, you could also do your citrus slices in metallic, as I explained when I was talking about the walnuts in the nuts and berries video. If you're going to make, for example, like gold orange slices, which could look very dramatic on a Christmas cake, you would generally just press yellow paste into your mold, and then that means when you paint over with the gold, if there are any little areas you miss, it's not going to notice. Alternatively, you could use, for silver, you'd start off with gray. And so here you can see the citrus slices. So really fun, and as I said, can be used in many different ways, not only at Christmas time, but as I said, for pool parties, luau themed birthdays, for cocktail themed birthday parties, you know, so it's a really fun mold to use throughout the whole of the year, and I hope you'll enjoy using this particular part of the mold. The third and final part of the mold is the star anise. So the star anise, as you can see, is a very detailed mold. You have all this beautiful definition in here, which will obviously come out into the mold. Now when we make the star anise, we're going to be using a number 6 size, or this is actually on the digital scale here, so this is 0.6 of a gram. So if you don't have a high precision digital scale, if you just took 2 grams, rolled it into a sausage and cut it into 3, that would give you approximately just over 1/6 of a gram, and that would be perfect, because there's obviously a very slight difference between 1/6 of a gram and 1/7 of a gram. So as I said, 2 grams rolled into 3 will give you the size. This would be on the, if you're using the size guide, this will be a number 6 size on the size guide. So again, just a standard size, 1/3 below, 2/3 above. Now, when I make the star anise, I personally prefer to use a gum paste or flour modeling paste, just because it is a smaller component. Also that if you're going to use this, it's a little bit more fragile. So making it out of a stronger paste is really the best way to go. So I just took some white gum paste or flour and modeling paste, and I've just added a little bit of brown to this. You could make this with modified sugar paste, but as I said, it's just that it's going to be a little bit easier to break, and because it is such a small, delicate piece. Also, with the definition of the mold, just like on the blackberry, it just makes it a little bit easier to push this in. So I'm going to just take my paste. I'm just going to condition this. You know, all of the molds can be used with many different mediums, but of course, like if you were, let's say, pushing modeling chocolate in there, or which is a lot softer, or marzipan, it would be a little bit more difficult to get out than, for example, something that's a little denser. But because it's very detailed, this little mold. So you're going to take your paste. Again, we're just going to roll this onto my little cornstarch pouch, or obviously put paste into here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to push this in. So I'm just going to use my fingers here, and I'm going to create almost like the top of a cupcake. And I'm just going to use my Dresden tool. And with my Dresden tool, I will push this into each of the cavities of the mold here. So you see this is very, very easy to do. So you're just going to push this in with your Dresden tool. This will be and this will give you the 8 parts. You see how I'm just almost just portioning out the paste and just pushing that in with my tool here, like so. And then I'm going to take my cosmetic sponge now. With my cosmetic sponge, I'm just going to press this in, and just use your veining tool, which is the thin end here. So if there are any little areas where it pushes out, so what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling back in with the veining tool, just to define that, so you don't sort of have like an overflow. All right, so that's going to fill your mold up level. And then when we just flex the mold here, see, out comes your beautiful realistic star anise. So that is how we would do the star anise. And then this will then need to dry a little bit before we paint this. Now, a second option I found that works really well for the star anise is to use a small daisy cutter. This is actually an FMM manufactured daisy. It's for part of a set of 3, and this is the medium size. But as you can see, this is exactly the exact same size as the star anise. So if you were making a lot of these and you had a daisy cutter, this is just an alternative for production work, would make it a little bit quicker. If you had to make 3 dozen of these for cupcakes, you know, this is going to be a quicker process. So I've just rolled out my paste, my flour and modeling paste. This has actually been put through a pasta machine on number 1, if you have a pasta machine. If you don't, you're just going to roll this out. This is approximately about 3 millimeters thick, okay? So about 3 mil thick. And you'll soon know if you do it freehand, if it's too thick, it will obviously overfill the mold. So all you do here is just press your cutter down to cut this out. Just going to pop this out with a stick, so this will come out. And of course, you could cut out several of these at one time and then put these into a plastic flap. And then once you've got those cut out, I'm just going to pop just a little cornstarch onto there. I'm going to lift this up, and you see then you're just going to place this into the mold. So you see how this just fits into the mold like this. And then you're going to just take this into the mold, and then just all you need to do now is just press this in with your cosmetic sponge, and then just pop that out of the mold, and that will be your second option. Okay, so this is using a cutter. This one is done freehand. So they're both exactly the same. It's just obviously they're just formed in different ways. So that gives you 2 options to use in the mold. Once the star anise has dried a little bit, making this in gum paste or flour paste, of course, is going to dry very quickly. So you just leave it about an hour. I'm using some brown gel color mixed with a little bit of vodka. And I'm just going to use a toothpick to hold the star anise, and just with a paintbrush, I'm just going to brush over the top. So I'm just going to go over the top there, and you see what's going to happen is that the color is going to then fill in the details. You're going to get that almost like a 2-shaded effect, because a star anise is almost like a sort of a browny black color. And so painting it, to me, is better than using a dusting powder. You're just going to get a little bit more detail onto here. And so as you can see here, when you take the star anise off, so you'll have this nice coloring onto the star anise. And these look really stunning, especially with like the oranges as a background. The sort of combination of the chocolate brown and orange is lovely. So here we have the finished star anise. So here you can see the completed 3 components from the winter spice mold: the cinnamon stick, both double and single, the variations on the citrus slice, and then the lovely star anise to finish off with. So I hope you will have fun using these molds and be very innovative with the way you use them. And until next time, sweet wishes. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and will have lots of fun with your new molds. So until next time, thanks for watching. Sweet wishes. This has been Nicholas Lodge.